And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hooker, Renfro. Got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Today's show is driven by Freeway Flyers Mobile Tire Service, FreewayFlyersUSA.com. If you don't know who they are, just Google them. If you're in the low country and you need new tires or you need a tire changed or replaced, they come to you. Go to your house. They did it at ours. It was awesome. Didn't have to leave. Changed it in the driveway. An hour, gone. New tires. Unbelievable. Allie and Jason Kirkman own it. They are fantastic people. FreewayFlyersUSA.com. 12:02 here on a gorgeous day. Make sure you chime in on the Share Healthcare chat lines, like Greg has already done. You can be a part of our program, just like JC Shurburtt will be coming up in now less than 30 minutes. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Gamecocks win last night again, and they just continue to hang around. The baseball team came back and won as well, so did Clemson. We'll get you a baseball roundup here in a little bit. Speaking of baseball, there won't be any for a while at the big league level. So we'll fuss and discuss a little bit of that. There are new players in Columbia today stepping to the podium, so anything of note we'll pass along there. Probably not much, but we'll talk about some of them with JC Shurburtt in addition to Carolina hoops and what's going to happen on the diamond this weekend between Clemson and South Carolina. Some bracketology stuff is out there that we're certainly going to get to as well. But above all of that, none of that matters in our household today because it is my little girl's third birthday. So we woke up this morning extra early and went downstairs, and Riley and Hannah were all fired up and ready to go. And the first thing Hannah looked at me and said was, "Dad, our birthday's in a couple weeks." I said, "No, it's right now. It's right now." She knew. She was just regurgitating the things we've been kind of saying for the last few weeks. So they're not listening because it's getting close to nap time at school, and they don't listen to our show at school anyways. But we're looking forward to getting them home and celebrating and all that. And I want to say thanks to Shane, who sent me a message earlier through our app. And that was cool, Shane. He remembered that it was Hannah and Riley's birthday today. That means a lot. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Happy birthday to the girls. It's a special thing, right? On the birthday of your kids, especially when they're that young still. It's like Christmas morning all over again. Unless they want to tease you and say it's not actually today, it's in a couple of weeks. But it is. It's fun. Everyone gets all jazzed up about it. And, hey, happy birthday to the girls. It's like a birthday month. It was my wife's yesterday, your girls tomorrow. There's more coming up this week. My daughter's is next month. I mean, everything just crams in right now.
Yeah, Carrie's is on the 8th. So she's 6 days away. So, yeah, we've got a busy few days and expensive few days and all that type of stuff, but we're happy around here. They're having a good morning. They were all fired up. So if you haven't downloaded the app, you should do it, and then you can do what Shane did. You can send Hannah and Riley a birthday message today. They would love that on their third birthday. So Happy birthday to my sweet little girls who keep us moving around here. That's for sure. And they this morning promptly got in the truck and said, "Daddy," I said, "Yes, ma'am. Can we listen to Gamecocks?" I said, "You damn right we can. Absolutely."
So what Gamecocks were we listening to at whatever time this morning?
So we have if you have Apple Music, you can download it. There's a list. I think there's 8 or 9 songs performed by the Carolina band. It's called Game Day Faves, and it's like all of the fight songs and all the things they play on game day, and then they also have Amazing Grace in there, and but it is the Carolina band, and so they're all short, a minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever. But they know everything. They know how to do the alma mater. They know everything. So, like, we took them to the basketball game a couple weeks ago, and here they were, almost 3 years old up there doing all the stuff, and people are looking at us like, they know that? I'm like, yeah, I don't think you understand where they come from. So
I figured you were going to go with like Derek Scott's greatest hits. So it was something from the College World Series, which wouldn't have been him, or or like the Final Four run. Who knows? But that's what I was thinking. Right?
Yeah, no. I mean, they watch a lot of that stuff, but no, they do love watching Carolina. So that's neat. But they love watching. Shoot, man, they had such a good time down at the Citadel on Saturday and pulling for Tony and Blake and or Mr. Blake as they call him, and the dogs and all that. It was fun. So. Good stuff there, no doubt about it. All right, it is 12:06 on Hannah and Riley's birthday here on March 2nd. By the way, it's also Dr. Seuss's birthday for anybody interested. So if you want to read Green Eggs and Ham tonight to yourself or your neighbor or your children or whatever, have at it. Carolina wins last night over Missouri, 73-69, and it was a little ugly early, but they found a way to win, and that's generally all that matters. In addition to that, Arizona beat up on Southern Cal late last night in a top 16 showdown of the Pac-12. It was a 20-point victory for the Wildcats. Duke by 30 over Pittsburgh, so they just continue to roll. TCU has now punched their ticket. They're in. 10-point win over 6th-ranked Kansas, an upset last night for the Horned Frogs. Kentucky continues to do what they do, and that is win, 83-72 over Ole Miss at home. Villanova in an unbelievable game against Providence, wins 76-74. A magnificent basketball game. Tennessee had a scare, but they pulled it off against Georgia. They didn't get the Alabama syndrome over there in Athens, so they win. Houston beat Cincinnati last night. Nebraska upset Ohio State. I don't know what the Buckeyes folks were thinking in Columbus last night, but they lost.
Nebraska boat raced Penn State one of the days this weekend, and that was one thing. Yeah. To go beat Ohio State, like I was having a conversation last night with a Gamecock buddy. We were going back and forth about the Gamecock game because I think it had ended when I realized that Ohio State had lost to Nebraska. That interrupted the entire flow of the conversation. I was completely thrown off. Completely.
Well, this is right after Nebraska just, they extended and invested again in Fred Hoiberg, their coach. So maybe they're playing for him. I don't know. But the game of the night was Wisconsin and Purdue. And at the end of that game, if you didn't see it, it was awesome. Big shot after big shot, bank after bank. The bank was full. But Wisconsin escaped 70-67. How many? Purdue's lost 6 games this year. Are they all like buzzer beaters? I feel like this happens every week to them.
Well, that's the problem. They're regressing. It's happening more and more now. It wasn't happening before. It's happening now. So it feels like this happens all the time. Purdue is not playing as crisply as they were. They have a great playmaker. They've got 2 bigs on the inside. But when they're not home, we're saying this a lot right now, on the road, they are not the same team. Even when they're home right now, they're not the same team. They're not shooting it as well. And Wisconsin right now, maybe the best team in the Big Ten. It's hard to say which the best team in the Big Ten is right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That was a great game last night. I ended up kind of tuning into that and watching the end of it. So magnificent stuff there in the top 25. And then real quick before we come back to South Carolina, a quick college baseball roundup, Darren. Charleston Southern beat the Citadel last night. So 9-5, good for the Bucks. Getting on the board, Clemson hit a couple of home runs late to capitalize on USC Upstate 8-5. They'll be undefeated coming into the rivalry this weekend against South Carolina. The College of Charleston over PC. Props to PC. Presbyterian's been getting some great programs into Clinton early in the year. Boston College was just there. They had a little tournament up there, or a little round robin. And College Charleston went up there and beat them, and CFC's pretty good. So congrats to the Cougs for getting a win there. Georgia beat Wofford last night, barely 7-6. And South Carolina came back to beat App State 9-6, scored 8 unanswered to get out of Charlotte with a victory. And now they are 7-1 with Clemson on deck at Founders Park on Friday. A little scary early, but Carolina was able to piece it together. Yeah, App State's got a nice little baseball team, so they're probably going to beat some people this year. I keep an eye on those guys. But that is your state baseball roundup last night. We'll get more when JC Shurburtt chimes in here in just a little while. Now, on to South Carolina, 73-69 winner, Darren, over Missouri, and the Gamecocks have improved to 18-11. They are 9-8 in the SEC. Quick little nugget here. That Florida comeback to beat Vandy late was a killer for Carolina. And let me tell you why. Because the Gators have Kentucky coming up on Saturday. South Carolina has Auburn coming up on Saturday. Right now, it's hard-pressed to think that Carolina is going to go into Auburn and beat them. Now, does Florida have a chance to pull an upset against the Wildcats? Sure, they're playing in Gainesville on Saturday, but is it likely? I don't know if likely is a word, but there's a chance that they could lose. Let's put it that way. Had Florida lost the game last night, which it certainly looked like was going to happen, they would have fallen to 8-9, and then with a loss against the Wildcats 8-10, and regardless of what happens in the Auburn game for Carolina, South Carolina would have finished ahead of Florida in the standings, which would have been better seeding in the SEC tournament. But that didn't happen. Florida won last night, so the only way for the Gamecocks to finish above them in seeding is to beat Auburn on Saturday on the Plains, which would give them a top 6 finish in the SEC, which, if you paid attention, is probably what you want. It's going to be a better route for Carolina. So that sucked late in the game with Florida pulling it out up there in Nashville. I didn't think they could do it, but they did, and they're hanging on as well for an NCAA tournament berth.
I wonder, the other side of that coin is maybe for the Gamecocks, it's better to have a lower seed. It looks better to be above in the standings, but with the wins you're going to need in the SEC tournament, I don't know how that bracket eventually shapes up. And it probably wouldn't matter, I guess, because regardless, once you get into the second, third game anyway, you're playing teams that are quad one games anyway at that point. But maybe it would have been beneficial to play the better of those two teams at that point. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day. At the end of the day, got to go beat Auburn, got to make a deep run at the end.
Yeah. If you're here's the thing. If you're the 6th seed, Darren, then you would get the winner of the 11-14. So you're going to get one of the worst, one of the
worst ones.
One of the worst ones. If you're the 7, you're going to get the 10 seed. So you're going to get a little bit of a better opponent there. So the 6 would have gotten a team from the play-in game.
RPI-wise, RPI, net, whatever you want. You want to play the better team.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, there's not really a difference in 10, 11, or whatever.
No, or 2, 3. That's kind of where my logic circled back on me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to get there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No doubt. I totally agree with that. And whether you're 6 or 7, you're still playing on Thursday. So, I mean, they're not going to be playing on Wednesday. They have Carolina's through that. They're going to play on Thursday as, either the 6, 7 seed, maybe the 8 seed. I don't know if they'll drop to the 9, but they'll be somewhere in the thick of it on Thursday in the SEC tournament. As it pertains to the game last night, look, it was early out, especially early on. I was like, oh, this is just it was flat. Everything was flat. Missouri wasn't good. Carolina wasn't good. Nobody was really into it. But they finally found a way to kind of pick it up and get rolling right along. And then Missouri kept hanging around. I got to give them a lot of credit, man. They've dealt with some injuries and stuff this year. And Frank said after the game last night that, he's got a lot of respect for Quanzo Martin and what he's been able to kind of hold together. They've just had a lot of big pieces in and out all year, and they just haven't been able to keep things under control. Carolina did not shoot it particularly well, just 25 of 65 from the floor, 6 of 20 from long range, but they did shoot really well from the foul line, which they've done a lot of lately, and they didn't turn it over again. They were under 10 turnovers, under double digits. So that's why they won the game last night. That's why they were able to to hang on and get it done against Missouri. So it guarantees them a 500 record, Darren, in the league. Gives them 18 wins. I like what John Rothstein tweeted last night. That locks up the postseason for South Carolina. They're in the NIT. And now it's can you just get on the run and hope to pull a miracle of miracles out, which doesn't seem likely right now. But they are in the postseason after that win last night.
And as we talk about every day, we're talking totality of the year. So that matters, because whether you win the SEC tournament or not, can you get a little momentum going into the postseason? Can the whole snapshot of the back half of the year be a completely different snapshot than the front half of the year? That's still the same conversation here. You still want the NCAA tournament, but the odds of getting there right now are very, very slim. We know what's in front of them and how it is possible, but very, very slim. So now you want to see progression. We talked a lot about that yesterday. How much progress have they made from last year to this year? Then what could it potentially look like moving forward with the pieces you have? You may lose and you may gain, and where the program is. What is the standing at the end of everything in totality? That matters. I'll say this.
Agree.
In my eyes, last night, it took a step back. That was two bad teams playing bad basketball for the majority of the game, and it was frustrating to watch. So while it's a win and it's a good win, that was a very large point of contention with me and my Gamecock buddy who I was texting with, because that was my stance on that game. It was, here's an opportunity to come out and say, listen, man, that was a total slip up at Alabama. We really have started to play better. We really can have some momentum. And it's a win, but it doesn't give you momentum. It didn't leave me with a good feeling, especially watching college basketball around the country. And then you watch that game as a snapshot put around all the other games. It didn't sit well with me. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, it was ugly basketball. I mean, Frank has said this before. I mean, him and Kwanzaa Martin know each other pretty well, and sometimes, you know, some guys just have people figured out. I mean, Frank in South Carolina have had Georgia figured out, period, the end. You know, I mean, it's just been like that. And Missouri has just they've struggled. I mean, they have really struggled. They've lost now 6 straight. I think they've lost like 7 of 8, and if you go back beyond that, it's something like 11 of 13 games or something. Darren, I mean, they've really struggled, and they've struggled pretty much throughout the season. So, you know, but I do agree with Frank. I mean, you're gonna have ugly wins sometimes, but did you win or not? I mean, that you know, that's what matters. And they won, and they've won 5 of 6. And, you know, we can sit here and say things like that. Well, you know, or like you said, they took a step back, or it doesn't give you the good feels. Locker room feels fine. They've won 5.
That's true.
5 of the last 6, you know, and that's all they care about. I want to, there wasn't really a ton to talk about in the game, outside of the fact that I did feel personally like Jermaine Cousinard has kind of just continued to be what he's been, which is, you know, really good. He's figured it out. 6 of 14 last night from the floor, only 1 of 5 from long range, but he did chip in 17 points, and he had a nice night.
7 assists too, I think,
for Carolina. Yeah, 7 assists, and only, which is great for him, 1 turnover. So that is just, you need that out of Jermaine, and you got to get all the other pieces to click kind of coming down the stretch in order for you to pull off some of these major upsets you're going to need to pull off if you want to dream big this time of the year, right? But I kind of want to shift forward and go right to the press conference afterwards. Frank said a few things that you know, you don't generally hear from coaches. First of all, yeah, Keyshawn Bryant and James Reese last night, who were talking about their coach and how much they love him and how much they have his back and how he's got their back, and kind of talked about what they went through last year together as a team. Well, Keyshawn did, and you know, those were neat moments. And then he had Frank not only talking about his team, but you know, he said he thought about hanging it up last year. He just thought he was done. And he said he didn't like the way that he was treated. And, I've seen there's a very small portion of every fan base, Darren, that they'll never say it to your face, right? But they will type it to you. And there were certainly guys like that I kind of saw around the internet, and Frank's just making excuses, this, that, and the other. Well, Darren, you've been in media for over 20 years, all right, and we've seen a lot of fluff from coaches from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often that you get a coach who sits at a podium, and I'm not defending Frank or anything. I'm just calling it like I see it here. But it's not often that you get a guy who sits up there and tells you exactly how he feels. It's just rare. So I'm not sure why. I mean, if you want to criticize him for being honest about how he felt about professionally and how he felt like he was treated, and I can't elaborate. Did he by the fans, by the administration? He said he had a team that basically quit on him last year, which was unusual. He said he had players who he was recruiting, guys on this team, who were like, yeah, I'm hearing you might be hanging it up. You can't. I want to play for you. You're Frank Martin. And that kind of re-energized him. What's wrong with him saying something like that? He's honest. Why do we not appreciate that?
There's nothing wrong with being honest.
That's what I thought.
There's nothing wrong with being honest at all. You can have an opinion as to whether or not you believe he was treated fairly, and he can have an opinion as to whether or not he believes he was treated fairly. And he has every right to be up there and be honest about it. If I had to bet, part of that is a built-up thing, because this conversation that we've had this year, that we had last year, that we're going to continue to have, whichever way this thing unfolds, it's happening almost every year. That's the way it feels to me covering it. I can't imagine what it feels like to him living in it. You can only say so many times, I'm blocking it all out. I don't pay attention to the noise, because eventually that noise gets in, especially in this day and age. And that's frustrating, and it takes a toll on anybody. If you're human, that takes a toll on you, because I can sit here and say, I don't care what this, that, and the other guy are saying about me. But after a while, when it just continually happens, and it's not even slander, it's just debating the merits of a job that he's doing, and it's someone's opinion. But after a while, it gets old. I mean, if someone's talking about you and your performance on the job year in and year out, it gets old. So I understand that, and I think it's him also laying the groundwork of pleading in a different way to media, to whoever, to kind of back off him right now. So that's what I heard.
Yeah, they have had 7, I believe, all-time double-digit win totals in SEC play, 10 or more. 7, I think, Darren. And Frank has 4 of those. And if they're able to somehow upset Auburn, he'll have 5 of 8. I think David Cloninger tweeted last night that only 10 times in the history of the program, or since it came into the SEC, have they finished with 500 league records or better, and Frank has 5 of those.
Yep.
I mean, I don't. I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to tell anybody how they should feel, and I for one, as you well know, am a huge believer in you should always expect to be the best, and you should never lower your expectations just because, like, this is not a basketball power, hasn't been, but it doesn't mean that you should just expect not be good. I mean, you should expect to be great, and you got to figure out how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, are you going to get there with the guy that you have, or are you going to get there with somebody else? I mean, that's the question. So, it doesn't change the expectations. It just maybe changes the road that you take to get there, or that you try to travel down to get there, I guess is what I'm getting at. But the thing about Frank is this is March 2nd of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And it not one time last year did he say any of this while they were going through it. And that, to me, says more than you need to know. Like, anybody that thinks he's making an excuse, or that wants to bash him because he was being honest last night. Oh, he's blaming the fans. He's blaming everybody else. He wants us to feel bad for him. Well, if he wanted you to feel bad for him, why wouldn't he have said this last year when they weren't any good?
Look, it's a good question. It's a very good question. No, he didn't. He didn't.
All he said
say
was,
that.
I didn't get it. He didn't, never said too, Darren. He never said last year, these guys have quit on me. Not one time did those words ever even get close to entering or leaving his mouth.
You can't say that in the midst of it. Yeah, I mean, because then you have zero chance of trying to fix the thing. Because while you're going through it, you can't say things like that. So I don't expect him to say things, or any coach really, to say as pointedly while you're going through it, whatever you actually might believing, if it is that negative, because then you're dead. Then you've sunk your own ship. While you're going through it, as tough as it is, and as taxing as it is, and as sick as he was, and emotionally and physically drained as he was, he didn't want to pull the plug on himself too, because if you do that, then you got no shot. So,
Absolutely.
so it's easy now. Well, I don't know about easy. It's a lot easier now to say this about last year than it is last year to say it while you're in the midst of it. But look, it makes sense. I mean, if you've been down in the dumps, right? It's not easy just to come out and talk about it. You kind of fight your way through it here a little bit. And then when you're on the other end, you can look back and say, listen, man, like, here's where I am now, but it wasn't that long ago where I was thinking about hanging it up. I was wondering if I could get this job done. I didn't feel well in all respects, all of those things, right? It's easy once you get to the other side, easier to then look back on it and say, yeah, but back then, man, that was rough. And again, I do think that this is part of a totality of all of it. Last year was rough because it was, again, it wasn't new. The conversation being had was not new. It was just at a fervor pitch because the team was so bad. So it was everything leading up to that. And now we're back in the midst of it again, despite the team having improved where they are. And I think part of it was him saying, I'm still kind of tired of it, guys. I don't have a problem with it. And that's not what he said directly, but I do think that's part of what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, props to our buddy Mike Yuva too for asking Keyshawn last night, saying, "Hey, look, you're not stupid. You hear what people say about your coach." And Keyshawn smiled and goes, "Yeah, we do." This is good for this program right now. Because what it looks like to me is it's pushed them tighter together and basically saying, I can't say it, but blank the rest of them and let's go to battle together. And I again, people more, and we got to go to a break, Darren, but as we said it yesterday, and you say it again, you have to look at it in context. And like, how good could this team be? Like, how good could a 1-year turnaround be? We all hoped, if you're a Carolina fan, of course, that it was going to be 20, 25 wins and this magical big turnaround, right? But realistically, now that we've gone through, almost 30 games of basketball and you've seen what you've seen it. How good could this team be? Have they been as good as they could be? Because if they have, then they've had a very successful year. They've won 12 more games than they won last year. And it's not over. So, but if they haven't been as good as they could be, and that's for someone else to determine, like, how much better could it actually be in a turnaround year from last season? 6 wins to 18 wins so far is that's quite the jump. So
it's a hell of an improvement,
and 5 more in the SEC.
Yeah, it's a hell of an improvement
in a better league than it was last year.
A much better league than it was last year, and a league, not only was it better last year or this year than it was last year, it's going to be better again. It's not going to regress. Right? This is a league that is on the up. So that's part of this conversation as well. So much of this at the end of the day is going to come down to a gut feel, right? For Ray, for Ray Tanner. Where are we? How have we progressed? Where can we progress to not just keep up with the pack, but sometimes bump into the upper echelon? Not always be up there with the leaders of the pack, but bump in every now and then. Are we in a position right now to get there, or do I, Ray Tanner, believe that it's something else? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that we're having this conversation. It feels like a lot of years in a row.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can start to squash some of it. Craig, how many are coming in the 2022 class right now? 3, but there's a big one out there dangling around. It could make it 4. So we'll have to see what it looks like. But the Hankins Sanford kid, Zach Davis, and Bryce Lindsey, as of now, are the 3. And it's a top 50 class. And obviously, if G.G. Jackson ends up joining it, it will move way into the top 25 for Frank Martin. So, all right, it is time for a timeout. 12:30 on what is absolutely a beautiful afternoon here in our neck of the woods. We hope it is wherever you are as well. JC Shurburtt joins us from Chicago next.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talcum smoke, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
Your online radio. The new online radio that makes you happy. I got honeybees beating on my screen. I got a little buzz in my head. Cause we come from a young land of sinners like me.
You were listening to the JB and Goldwater show, live, loud, and online.
Don't cry for me when I'm gone. Just put a quarter in the jukebox and sing.
So I guess I just didn't see it until just now. But if y'all see the grueling 2 minutes of the 3 doofuses on Wheel of Fortune not able to get another feather in your cap?
No.
Did y'all miss that?
Yes.
I missed it too. Okay. You have gotten, this is painful to watch. These three folks, there's literally an I, like in the word in, and a C and a P missing. Every other letter's filled in. Another feather, blank, your blank with an A. And they all missed it multiple times, and then they kept spinning to bankrupt and lose a turn, and finally they did guess the right letter and it filled itself in. Oh, duh. What if I was what's his name? Who hosts Wheel of Fortune?
Pat Sajak.
Pat Sajak. Yeah. If you're Pat Sajak, don't you just want to just blurt it out? Oh, forget it. It's another feather in your cap. Let's go to the next one.
I used to, yeah, I'd probably get frustrated. It reminded me of sort of the Will Ferrell, Alex Trebek, Celebrity Jeopardy, where they had Turd Ferguson, Burt Reynolds at Turd Ferguson. He's like, yeah, going to be the late great Norm Macdonald did that, and then somebody always did Sean Connery. He's like, your mother, Trebek, your mother, Trebek. Oh, your mother, Thank you, Sean Connery, that was hilarious. But
I feel like that's isn't that always in like the SNL like Thanksgiving special or Christmas special or something? Or am I wrong?
Yes, it usually is. It's usually it, isn't it? And,
it's something. Yes,
they bring it back, and now that Burt Reynolds is dead and Norm Macdonald are both dead, we won't have a Turd Ferguson sighting anymore. And if they do, they probably get one of those unfunny people that they have doing it now to do it, and it would ruin my life.
Turd Ferguson.
Turd Ferguson. I need a shirt that says Turd Ferguson on it. Just Turd Ferguson.
Make one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tons of companies out there. Just Google online. You can get it.
We have a user on the Big Spur that's his handle's Turd Ferguson, and and I'll admit this that's I don't know who that is, but when we first started the Big Spur, we didn't have a lot of members, so you kind of had to have some aliases and stuff, and we had one of our aliases was Turd Ferguson, and we go in there and ask questions and stuff. Hey, Turd Ferguson, but there's an actual member named Turd Ferguson now, so we retired that alias a while back.
Well, God bless him. Hopefully he's one of the ones who's uses
he's probably funny.
Brain. Yeah. Hopefully, I hope he is funny. JC's pretty funny usually. 12:37 here on a Wednesday afternoon. So JC, we're recording these. So go ahead. Today's Hannah and Riley's birthday. Come on, bring it on.
Happy birthday to Hannah and Riley. Hi, this is do it like a promo. Hi, this is JC Shurburtt. Want to give a big birthday shout out to Hannah and Riley right here on the JB and Goldwater show every Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30. Hope you have the best birthday, guys.
Ish. 12:30 to 1:30.
I can get on Cameo, and you can send me like $300, and I'll give him a birthday.
Coach Spurrier does that.
Hey, he's not that expensive either. He's like, just want to say, like right here, this goes out to Billy in Columbia. Boy, we had some great times there with the Gamecocks.
Have you watched them? I've watched a lot of them. They're pretty funny.
They're hilarious. They're hilarious.
He doesn't even say happy birthday till like the end. He's like, well, Karen, I hear today's your birthday, and
totally. And then
you graduated from the with the Gators in 1990. I know that because that's back here when I was taking over, and he'll ramble on for 30 seconds about his team and then go, yeah, but anyways, all right, well, happy birthday, Karen, and have yourself a great day, and go Gators and go Gamecocks. He always says both.
Yeah, it's Cameo's brilliant. We should all get on there. I mean, somebody'd give me $10 to give him a birthday shout out, wouldn't they?
Yeah, let's see here. Here, hold on just a second. We got a laundry list of folks right here. Greg, Craig, Adam, Nathan, Marion. Hey, today's Marion's birthday. Happy birthday, Marion.
Happy birthday, awesome. Marion.
I hope you're hope you have a good nice glass of bourbon tonight.
Send me $10.
Send me $10 and
I'll do a little video for you.
I'll make it personal. Jamie, listen, Jan. Oh, Jan.
Oh, Jan's my boy. I'd cut his fee's only gonna be $5.
Nice.
Send me $5, Jan.
Mac and Dino. All right, let's come to a consensus. If we got on Cameo, how much would y'all pay us to wish you birthdays and anniversaries and all that. Oh, come on, Tyler. I'm worth more than a quarter. I know that.
Nah, he's talking to me.
Oh, because you went to
Burns. Yeah, well, hey, that Burns, that should be 50 cents. Really.
Oh, yeah,
the Burns fee is up there, man. Come on.
Yeah.
But if I say Rebel Pride at the end, that's that's 50 cents more. Put another quarter in the jukebox, right?
Yeah. There have to be like levels here.
Yeah.
I mean, how I don't know, gnarly do you want this message to be? Yeah.
There was one person in my business that covers the Gators. I'm not gonna mention his name because I like him a lot, but John Whittle one night was on Cameo for some reason and sent me this guy's Cameo profile, and he's like, I literally have been laughing for 2 minutes. This guy's on Cameo. I was like, but anyway, yeah, that's a happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's my grandmother's birthday was yesterday, 91, I think, 92.
Oh.
Still hanging in there. My dad's mom, and
awesome.
Want to give her a big shout out and all. And she's certainly, with the COVID and the isolation for 2 years, I think this is probably one of her better birthdays that we just went through. But compared to the last 3 years where everybody had to wave from the window, but so she's doing well. But anyway, that's happy birthday to everybody.
Happy birthday to Grandma. Grandma Shurburtt.
Like a Grandma Shurburtt, adore Shurburtt. We can this is kind of like Alice in Wonderland now. I'm very merry. I'm birthday. We're like having like a party here. Can I be the mouse in the teapot? I want to be. And then we got to figure out which one of you guys is the March Hare and the Mad Hatter.
Yeah,
I think we have to give JB Mad Hatter because there's a Mad Hatter reference in one of the Eric Church songs that came out.
Yeah.
Recently, so.
Call me the Mad Hatter. We were listening to the Chief this morning, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's a great. Crazy Town's a great.
It's probably one.
Yeah.
It's one of the best written songs literally probably in the history of music. But nobody, unless you're a Chief fanatic, you don't know it.
Yeah, you got to dig into the story too.
You got to go hear it.
Listen, kind of what the symbolism as to what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm being serious, Darren, when I say that. If you listen to the song, you go, this is brilliant. How did somebody even think to write this? It's unbelievable.
I believe you. And you hit the nail on the head. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I do believe you.
Jan, let me respond to Jan. I will not be in Columbia this weekend. We're having our kid's birthday party on Saturday. Hold on. Saturday morning when this conversation came up. Well, let's have it on Saturday. What time do you think? Like 2 or 3 o'clock? I was like, well, let's see. Gamecock basketball's at 1 and Carolina baseball's at 4. How about 10 a.m. and it's over by noon? That sounds good to me. So, no, I won't be up there. I'm planning to come up for maybe the Texas series. So we're working on that. All right, go ahead, JC. What are we talking about?
Oh no, I was just gonna say this is funny. It's like, JC, will you tell my dad I'm not a disappointment?
for $10? Hell
that's gonna be about $12 there.
That's more than a birthday. That's a personal. I know this guy, and your son is okay. That ups the ante.
Yeah, I don't know Mr. Andrew, but have him ship over his resume, and we'll decide the message from there.
Ron White was making fun of the grizzly man that got eaten. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
And he's like, I wonder if like his dad, like my dad told me I wouldn't amount to crap. And he's like, he'd call him up. I was like, well, what do you think of me now, Daddy? Tomorrow morning when this bear passes me out of his bowels, I will be a steaming pile of bear crap. Look at me now. I did amount to it. Anyway, Ron White tells it obviously better than me, but anyway.
Well, all right. Hey, let me pass this along. The football newcomers are meeting with the media. Anything we've told you important in Columbia worth passing along, we'll pass it along. I think Carolina fans might have a new favorite player. How's Terrell Dawkins sound from Concord, North Carolina? He says somebody asked him about Carolina. He said, you said Carolina. Is this the real Carolina? And he says, yeah, I don't know them boys in blue. So Terrell Dawkins feels that he is at the real Carolina. for that matter. All right, JC. Well, the real Columbia got a win last night in hoops. South Carolina took down Missouri. It's their 18th win of the year. All right, so, people have spent, I don't know, a month debating on whether this team deserves to be in and out or whatever. I want to ask you about Frank's comments afterwards. Frank said afterwards he didn't appreciate the way he was treated last year. That's not exactly the only thing he said. It was just in a response with this team and the turnaround and what they've meant to him. And he said last year was incredibly difficult. He thought about hanging it all up, and he had players who he was recruiting say, you can't do that. You're Frank Martin. We want to play for you. And he said, I didn't feel like I was treated particularly well, didn't expand on who or what or anything like that. But I'll be honest, I appreciate coaches, any coach, when they get up there and they spill their heart out and they're honest with people. And he was honest last night. What did you make of those comments after they posted their 18th win of the season?
Yeah, I mean, he's Frank Martin. I mean, he's going to tell you how he feels. And at this point with the fan base, I mean, he's not going to be able to win. I mean, he gets up there and doesn't act like Frank Martin, and he's lost it. He's not himself anymore. He gets up there and does, and he's just he just needs. I think a lot of people are just done, and so there's always going to be. I think he can get up there and sing Kumbaya or say I just saved a puppy from drowning. And there would be a bunch of fans that would take exception to it at this point. And that's just part of it's like being here for 10 years. That's going to happen. And part of that's, and that longevity, part of it's societal, but part of it's just kind of sports. I mean, it's a decade in college athletics, especially around here where, nobody's used to coaches staying that long. I mean, Steve Spurrier stayed a long, long time. He was out after 10 and a half. In football. Frank McGuire, I think, what was he, 16 years? So Frank Martin's been here a while. And, unless you have Ray Tanner or Dawn Staley type of success, I mean, people are going to get tired of you. So, as for whether or not he was treated well last year, obviously, you know what that's about. I mean, there was a chance he wasn't coming back and not his choice. Last year, and we all know what happened and don't need to rehash it. No. Now you want to say, well, it's hard because I agree with him, especially now that this year the program's bounced back to where it was before last year. I agree with him that it probably was unfair to judge him on last season alone. Just like this season, John Rothstein tweeted this team's overachieving, and it is. But I think any sort of decision that's made, you got to look at the big picture, the trajectory of the program, what's going on, where you're at, and how do you get forward? And I've used the term stuck a bunch. How do you get unstuck? And that's where that decision's coming down. I mean, but people are going to freak out. The John Rothstein tweet about this team overachieving, which I believe is absolute. I think you'd have to be just completely oblivious to say that this team hasn't overachieved in and of itself. This team was picked, 11th or 12th in the SEC, a bunch of new faces, coming off a disastrous year last season for a number of reasons. I don't think you can legitimately sit there and say this team with an 18-11 record and a 9-8 record in the SEC has not lived up to expectations. But people latch on to that and they think, because it's all about a decision at the end, about the future of the program. They latch on to that and they're like, it's totally wrong. It's not. I also know this. This is not an extraordinary year because this program routinely under Frank Martin has surpassed expectations past his first couple of years. I think the Final Four team was picked, 10th in the league? Every year you go to these SEC basketball media days and Carolina's in the double digits and they tend to finish much higher. So I don't know that this is out of the ordinary either. So there's a lot of different sides to some of the stuff that's being said out there right now. I had zero problems with Frank Martin's comments, as I have zero problems with anything he says. I don't that's another thing where if you're going to criticize the guy, I don't know that his press conferences are something you should criticize. People criticize Muschamp and Beamer for their press conferences for different reasons. I think that's one awesome thing about Frank is he speaks to the media, and it's cool to listen to. So, and he speaks from the heart, and I don't ever fault anybody for that, no matter how many games they win, lose, whatever. I think that's authentic, and quite frankly, some people nowadays are bothered by authenticity because probably they should look in the mirror and understand that they're not really all that special or authentic themselves, and probably pretty fake, and it bothers them.
Yeah, JC, they're in the postseason. They're going to be in the NIT. They've earned that, and now that the big question is whether they can pull off a miracle and get into the dance, which obviously was everybody's goal. Is it as simple as if they make the NIT, Frank Martin returns or not?
No. I understand that a lot of people are probably thinking that, but that does not line up with my understanding. Now, am I saying that it's big dance or he's totally out? That decision's been made? No decision's been made. But I think, again, you also have other kind of people that are agenda filled and stuff, and they're looking at Ray Tanner going, well, he's just good. NIT's just good enough for old Ray, isn't it? Blah, 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 blah. And that's not true either. It's one of those things. But now, if they make the NIT, maybe win a couple of games in the NIT, maybe get on the bubble, maybe make a run in the. See, to me, an SEC tournament run would help, even if they don't make it to the NCAA tournament. Would help a lot because, Frank Martin's never played on Saturdays at the SEC tournament. That's I said a couple of weeks ago, the two things he hasn't done is win at Alabama or go to Saturday for the SEC tournament. So heck, you do those things, you're good. But, so let's say they win some games, they get in the NIT, GG Jackson publicly commits. At that point, when you're evaluating the trajectory of the program, do you pull the plug? I would have a hard time thinking that would be a reasonable decision, right? If you have a top 5 player coming in, even if he doesn't reclassify, very few decommitments happen in basketball. They kind of have, unlike football, they have an unspoken rule. They don't try to flip people or whatever. So once that's done, that's done. And, you have to think that the 2023 class, if they get GG Jackson in it, will attract some guys that may want to play with him that are kind of a step up. I thought Frank did a really good job in the transfer portal this offseason, and then there'll be another. College basketball is not going to be able to escape the transfer portal at all. So there'll be another opportunity to upgrade the roster. Can they, with guys like Devin Carter coming back next year, can they get back to like right where they're at now, but maybe take another step, maybe sneak in the tournament and then wait for Jackson the next year? There's all this opportunity if he does return with Jackson in the fold that can help facilitate recruiting and facilitate other players and get this program, quote unquote, unstuck. Now, will the NIT alone get this program unstuck? No, it absolutely will not. I don't want to say it's unimportant, but hey, last time I checked, this is one of the best college basketball programs when they get in the NIT in the history of the NIT, right? Thanks, Dave Odom. Dave Odom was 14-1 in the NIT when he was a coach. 14-1, dude. That's awesome. Played for it once and then won it twice. But so yeah, I don't think anybody's sitting around going, man, made the NIT. That's great. Now, if this were year 3, yeah. But it's year 10 and it's 5 years removed from a Final Four berth. So I can't say for sure that the NIT alone, or let's say something happens, they don't make the NIT because of the way that tournament's selected these days, and they get Jackson. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if just Jackson would do it. I think that's kind of a needle to thread to where I could see a scenario without an NCAA tournament where he returns.
Let me ask you this, because we're all on the same page with what you're saying here. Like, totality of the picture. It doesn't matter if you just make the NIT. It matters how you're playing from when you started playing better all the way through whenever the season ends. And I keep going back to, I don't want to be the guy who's making that decision. Is there any sense of what the relationship between Ray Tanner and Frank Martin is right now, today?
Yeah, I think it's respectful. It always has been. I mean, I think, though, that those are two people with two different jobs. I mean, Ray Tanner's job is to take care of the athletic programs at the University of South Carolina and make sure they are on the right trajectory. Frank Martin's job is to win basketball games and run his program and impact lives. Because I will say that. I mean, that's sometimes people look at this as it's a bottom line business. However, there is, especially with, Frank Martin, there's another element to it that he's done an outstanding job with. But Red doesn't like me talking about this subject. But I don't think there's any sort of strained relationship. I think it's a very professional relationship. And Ray, when they fired Muschamp, Ray was, he's getting a little emotional. Do I think that if they fire Frank Martin or Frank Martin leaves or they part ways, do I think Tanner's going to shed a tear? No. But I don't think there's any kind of strain there like there was with Frank and the clown that went to Tennessee, that was at Kent, John Curry, that guy. I don't think there's any kind of strain there like that.
The Share Healthcare chat lines, Ashtash31 asks, say, hey, by the way, all of you who only show up here on Wednesdays when JC's on, have you downloaded the JB and Goldwater app? Because if you haven't, what are you waiting on? Ashtash, I'm talking to you and others.
Just scan this. It's that simple. Just scan your screen right now.
Yeah. Or
there you go.
You do that. You can go to your app store. It's free. You can watch, listen to us. Make sure you enable notifications so you can get the notifications of who's coming on. Like today, we said JC's coming on. Ashtash says, hey, say Gigi commits next week. Ray fires Frank at the end of the season. Does Gigi decommit? Yes. I'll give you a hard yes.
I would think so. I mean, unless there's just like a 2-day turnaround with a coaching hire, and then that coach has some sort of great relationship with Gigi Jackson and his family. I think.
I would honestly defer this conversation to John Whittle, who
I would be shocked if he didn't. If that happened, but if you have Gigi Jackson in the fold and you get to the NIT. I think the decision becomes much, much more complex.
Gigi Jackson is you got a pie, JC, and you've just cut this little piece over here. That's the Gigi Jackson. The rest of it is much more concerning. He's a small piece to the puzzle. It's at the end of the day, is the program headed in the right direction, and is the guy in charge of the program capable of getting it where you want it to be? That's it. That's it. You can't let one player dictate the whole thing. Now, if it is heading in the right direction, but it's not quite there and you need a piece to get it over the hump, then then that's where that comes into play. Shoot, it's headed in the right direction. This cat here, he's going to give us a real shot, and then you go forward. I mean, I don't really think it's that difficult, JC, honestly.
I'm with you there. It's one of those things where it's just, like I said, if this were year 5 or 4 or something like that.
Let me ask you this. All right, you got 2 minutes to answer, and then we got to hit a timeout. Hindsight's 2020. The purpose of this question, there literally is no purpose except for conversation. Should Frank Martin have just sat out last year? Just said, hey, I can't do it. I'm going to let this guy run the team. He sure as hell wouldn't be feeling all this heat.
I don't know. Yeah, because last year they were just so bad. Yeah,
let me ask you differently.
I do think that. I think that, I think there's been a lot of unfortunate things that have kind of derailed his tenure. But yeah, you hand it to Bruce Shingler, or Chuck Martin, for the rest of last year. You just call it what it was, which was a completely lost season in terms of players, coaches. Frank, they didn't even play the style of basketball he likes to play. I mean, he did something, tried to do something different.
Gave up like 80 points a game.
It was a disaster. And then they got back, and you just kind of call it what it is. And his body language was bad last year. I think it's improved this year. I think the no hair thing though throws some people off, because that no hair thing started happening last season. But yeah, he looked dejected and down in the dumps, and his health was in question. And I he had COVID twice and it kicked his butt. I mean, he could have had some of what they call the long COVID thing that they write about all the time. I mean, I think that probably in hindsight would have been a better deal. And I think frankly too, this situation probably would have been resolved in 2020. If they hadn't made a run in Nashville that year and gotten to the big dance, I'm not sure that, change wasn't a coming then, just to be quite honest with you. And I know people may disagree with me there, but trust me, I mean, this whole notion of getting back to the tournament's been on the table for about 3 years now, because you go and you do something like the Final Four, you got to capitalize on it. Now, that's easier said than done. We all know that. There's been a lot of one-hit wonders in the NCAA, but South Carolina, I think, is one of the few programs that's gotten there and then just hadn't gotten back in 5 years, which is amazing, So I think the cancellation of the season in 2020 robbed everyone of some resolution. I think that last year he probably should have sat out. And he probably avoided a messy situation at the end of last year, because at that point you're not going to fire a guy that's taking a leave of absence for medical reasons, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
No, yeah, it's
good luck.
There's an HR deal there, but I mean, and then those types of things are and then this year, look, man, I think he's done a good coaching job this year. In a vacuum this season with this team, where you got Bryant out the first 5 games, and trying to blend Cousinard and Bryant, who were used to playing with one group of guys, with this new group of guys. Those two guys are not like, I don't think, easy to sort of just stick in there with another group. I mean, they kind of have to get in the flow, and and all that. People gripe about the Coastal game, and that's really the only embarrassing loss this year. The season's kind of gone according to plan. I mean, they've kind of beaten the teams they should and not beating the teams they shouldn't. And I don't want to hear that Princeton is a game they should have won, because that's not true. Princeton is Princeton, right? So outside of the Coastal game, I mean, you look at it, and it hasn't been, it's been a different type of Frank Martin year. I saw somebody on the chat while I was on today that said even the Final Four team wilted at the end of the season. And they did. They were 2-4, but guys, this team's won 4 out of 5 this team's 5-1 in their last 6 games.
Yeah.
So this is one of those teams that in February and March under Frank Martin has actually gotten better. I mean, so
a lot better.
So all the old tired stuff, if you apply it to this year's team, is out the window. Now, again, like we said, it's a big picture decision. If all you care about is him being fired, then just hold your horses. Let's not sit there and trash minor accomplishments by this team just because you're upset and throwing a temper tantrum that you may not get the change that you want, because I don't think that's off the table at all.
103 on a Wednesday afternoon. Need to hit a timeout when we return. We got some baseball and football to get to with JC Shurburtt. So don't go anywhere. The owner of the Big Spur is coming right back right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour, Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back, the JB and Goldwater Show. Today's show is driven by Freeway Flyers USA. It's a mobile tire service here in the Low Country. If you need your tires changed or you need new tires and you don't want to go sit and wait for, 12 hours at some of these shops that tell you they'll get you in and they'll get you out, guess what? Go to freewayflyersusa.com and they're going to come to your house and they're going to change tires. You buy new tires with them, they're going to bring them to you right in your driveway, at your work, at your office, wherever you are, they'll come to you. It is that simple. Tell Allie and Jason we sent you. Freeway Flyers. Put this in your, I'm telling you, put it in your phone. freewayflyersusa.com. Everybody's going to need new tires at some point in time. And if you're in the Low Country, freewayflyersusa.com. All right, make sure you've downloaded the JB and Goldwater app. For everybody that does, we give you a free cameo, no charge. Download. Tell everybody you know to download it. Make sure you check out our top prospects list. Looking for any types of services and things. It's something that's growing every day. People that support our program, people that we support. Click on the top prospects link on the app while you're in there, maybe for a bite to eat or for new tires or for a mortgage or whatever it may be. These are the best of the best, and that's why we associate ourselves with them. JC, college baseball's best rivalry will beginning Friday in Columbia. It'll continue Saturday in Columbia at Segra Park, and then it'll head to the upstate to Doug Kingsmore on Sunday to wrap up Game 3 between Clemson and South Carolina. I know Baseball America has lost a little bit of their edge over the last few years since D1 baseball was really taking charge. I love D1 baseball. I take all their rankings and all that stuff in. I think they're very valuable. Back in December of 2020, I remember Baseball America's top 25 college baseball rivalries came out, and they had, no offense to either one of these programs because they're incredibly proud programs, but they had behind Mississippi and Mississippi State at 1, they had Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State at 2 ahead of Clemson and Carolina. They don't even get 400 people into the game. Golly, there's 400 people in the press box in Columbia on Friday night for this one. This and Ole Miss, Mississippi State are the best two. There's no other conversation to be had. Carolina wins last night in Charlotte. Clemson wins last night against USC Upstate. A couple of tricky midweek games, JC. And here we go. This is what it's all about. Starting Friday. I know John Whittle, the best in the business in covering baseball, is going to be fired up, ready to go. So hopefully everybody's subscribed to the Big Spur to read all about that. But certainly something we all look forward to every year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a great rivalry, and I say this every single year. South Carolina has nothing to prove in this rivalry. I know Clemson, when it was a military school, and I think South Carolina was playing sandlot baseball, they racked up a bunch of wins and lead the overall series. But every time, at least since the 80s, that it's counted and mattered, I don't think South Carolina's lost a game.
No.
Not just a series, but a game. And so I want everybody to keep that in mind. And this started in 2002 and continued through the end of the Tanner era. And Clemson has done nothing to change that. Okay. And so let's just keep all that in mind, because every time they play them in football, everybody gets reminded of that, right, on the other side. So let's just remind everybody about that in baseball. This year, with the injuries to the pitching staff, guys, it's dicey. These next 6 games, I mean, it's dicey. You kind of wonder who's going to pitch. I think that the UNC Greensboro series, though, on the surface, it's ugly. You're like, well, why'd they struggle so much with Greensboro, right? And all that good stuff. I think, though, baseball is a funny sport, and JB, you obviously know it a lot better than I do. Sometimes that gets you going. You have an improbable rally, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, man, let's go win, that kind of thing. And so you kind of get used to like the process of winning. And I think this team's shown that. I thought it was a nice win over App State last night. And, people could say, well, they kind of struggled in the mid. Well, they're going to, because of the depth of the pitching staff at the moment. Clemson's played pretty good ball this year. It's kind of funny. I'd like to ask some Clemson people about their baseball program. They just kind of seem to be the same every year under Monty Lee. And so they're kind of the same, pretty good team. And they're going to be coming after the Gamecocks. But I don't want to make any predictions or anything, because I just, with the way the pitching staff is, there's a good chance this series does not go South Carolina's way this weekend, really through circumstance more so than, ability of overall team or, long-term projection. Now, it'd be great if they did win it. It'd be great if they did win it, but that's it could be a little bit of a tall order, particularly without a great start on Friday night by Will Sanders.
Look, I think that if they want to win the series, they got to win on Friday at home. If they lose Friday, they're probably not going to win the series this weekend, JC. And midweek games, it used to be Coach Tanner was big about, you got to be able to win on Sunday, and you got to be able to win midweek games. And if you can do that, you're going to win over 40, period, the end. Because you're going to win some and you're going to lose some on Friday. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some on Saturday. That's the nature of the beast in this league. I mean, everybody has an ace. If you look at the worst team in the league in any given year, and sometimes it's Missouri, sometimes it's I don't know, that's Georgia,
Missouri, Georgia. Yeah, they've been.
You don't ever know. Tennessee's been there. Shoot, Carolina a few years ago. People were like, "What has happened here?"
Auburn and Alabama this past year were terrible.
Can't figure that out for the life of me. Shouldn't be bad, but it doesn't matter. If you're the worst team in the SEC, newsflash, they still have a guy on Friday night.
Yeah,
always. It is the SEC. Period. The end. So you can lose to bad teams in this league, and you are going to lose to bad teams in this league. So you used to, JC, Coach Tanner he'd hammer that home. Do not lose your midweeks. Don't lose your midweeks. Don't lose your midweeks. And if you can win on Sundays, you're going to win a bunch of series. Kind of worked out. The 40 games of the regular season every year, forever. Baseball has changed a lot. And anybody that thinks that it's a Carolina problem and having a tough midweek matchup here and there, oh boy. Go look at the scores every week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday specifically. Everybody in the country, they lose. Everybody in the country goes through tough games, even when you think they shouldn't. And why is that? Well, this is the World Series for some of these teams. They don't ever get to play them. They're all fired up. Number one. Number two, you're not throwing your dudes. You're getting work in. You're getting guys to get innings. You're playing guys, especially early in the year, JC, who you want to get a look at. You want to see what they look like out there, because if you can get them some innings, if you can get a guy a couple of ABs and he proves something to you, then you might be able to add him into the weekend rotation or the weekend lineup. That's what it's all about now. So the game's changed. People need to calm down with the midweek stuff. That being said, this weekend series, Clemson is really good. And I like Monty's team. Offensively, I like their staff. They're good. If Carolina loses the series, JC, like you were saying, I don't know if they will or not. I think they got a great chance to win this thing. But if they lose it, all is not lost at all. It's baseball. Now, it will look that way because guess who's up next? Texas. Oh, who's after that? Oh, Tennessee. Who's after that? Vanderbilt. I mean, it's never ends.
Texas just has this program's number too. I mean,
they have everybody's number, JC. Their ERA is 0.5. I mean, come on. So it's going to look daunting. They got to get Bosnick back, and once they get him back, they're going to be okay on Fridays and Saturdays from a starting perspective. But it's the best rivalry in the country, JC, and it's going to be a blast this weekend. What do you think about how they move it around in the second game?
Now, am I a huge fan of having two games in Columbia? No. And from a Carolina perspective, the people are like, that's blasphemy. Because I guess people they'll look at Greenville like it's actually Clemson, and it's not. I've been at the one in Greenville. Those crowds are maybe tilt Clemson a bit, but I mean it's not like it's just right down the road from Clemson's campus either. So
there's a lot of Gamecocks up there.
Yeah, I kind of like playing it in Greenville. I'd like to see him play it maybe. Do they still have Knights Castle up in Fort Mill near Charlotte? I guess they don't have that anymore because they built the ballpark downtown. But I'd like to see him play it if there was a facility in Rock Hill, play it in Myrtle Beach or play it at the Joe down there where you guys are at.
Joe needs work.
And then there's a stadium in North Augusta that's pretty
brand
cool.
New. Yep. Carolina opened that ballpark, I think, didn't they?
I think they did. They had a game over there against somebody. But look, I mean, I understand that the minor league park over there I know they've renamed it, but it was kind of spooky when they first built it because it's a beautiful ballpark, where the Fireflies play, and the Fireflies have great gear too, and all that. And I think it's great for Columbia, but they didn't really tear down like the insane asylums when they first built it, and it was called Spirit Communications Park. Whoa. And I thought that was kind of creepy, but now it's something else. So, and I understand all that. And if they bid for it and both schools were cool with it, split the tickets and all. And there are Clemson fans in the Midlands too. So I get that part of it too. So, but I I love moving it around. I just, the 2 games in Columbia is kind of one of these people that's kind of a traditionalist that likes to see different parts of the state get South Carolina, Clemson love. I thought it may be a little bit of overkill having 2 in Columbia, but hey, look, it's whatever. That's fine, and it's my understanding is a Clemson home game on Saturday because it's on the ACC network. So, that's the only thing. I love that. I love the way it's set up now. I didn't like it when they just did 2 midweek games for a while there.
Well, they did 4. It used to be 4 just on Wednesdays scattered throughout the year.
And they tie it and all that. But I didn't like that. I like the 3-game thing. It's really sort of the unofficial beginning to the actual because it gets a little warm. And it's kind of like, okay, the Clemson series is here now. It means SEC plays in a couple of weeks, and let's get this ball rolling. It's baseball season, because you have 9-10 games before, 8-9 games before, but this is really what gets it going. And I love that aspect of it. And, I do love the rivalry. And I think that in this sport in particular, it's probably second only to football that you want to win. The basketball game, of course, you always want to beat them and they want to beat you. But then, like, you're trying to get in the NCAA tournament and stuff at times or chasing the postseason, you almost pull for them. Because the better they do, the better your strength of schedule, blah, 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 blah. And there's no love lost between Carolina fans and some of the ACC legacy basketball programs like Duke and North Carolina. But, football, obviously, you don't want to lose that game. And baseball, I think, is definitely second.
Well, the reason why, JC, goes beyond just the hatred between the fan bases. And let's all remember, too, a lot of these players are very close with each other. I mean, God, I came through this, everybody knows everybody. So there's that aspect there, but the real reason is to the programs. They've been so good so they're generally in this series, there's more on the line than just beating the other one. Like it's at the end of the year, this has helped you or it's hurt you. And these teams are always really, really, really good. Where you're winning 40, 50 games a season and contending for championships and stuff. So
I'd love to see it get back to where it was when Ray Tanner and Jack Leggett had those both programs going like they did.
A lot of moments in this series.
Yeah, from a Gamecock standpoint, you kind of hope that if whatever 2 coaches lead the 2 programs back, you don't flip roles. And Clemson's got the Ray Tanner and Carolina's got the Jack Leggett, who essentially became sort of like the Washington Generals for Tanner, and the Gamecock glory years on the national stage. I mean, I'll never forget, that Clemson team in 2010 was not supposed to be there, but they went out there, they got hot. They had won 2 and were in good shape. Gamecocks lost their first game, I think, was it A&M or Oklahoma, and had to battle back like they always did through the losers bracket. And boy, those 2 games, because in baseball, as you know, JB, things tend to even out. So you're sitting there in 2010 going, dang it, because you remember 2002, and you're like, man, chances are these guys are gonna even the score, and they only have to win 1. And boy, Michael Roth and then whoever else just shut them completely down. And
it was just Michael Roth in that first game.
Yeah, just Michael Roth, and I don't remember who the second pitcher was, but man, boy, what a at that point you go, oh, nothing to prove. And then Carolina, they beat them in a super regional or regional at Founders Park a couple of years later.
Well, they Clemson played there, but they didn't get to face off because Clemson got beat.
Oh, yeah.
You say it with such pain in your voice. It's like what Sapikov said yesterday, and the opportunity in front of both teams this year that it can matter. Like these memories you guys are bringing up of some of when it does matter and why it's more important than basketball because it can impact postseason. It's like what Sapikov said yesterday, that whoever loses this series can look and say, well, you know what? That's okay. Like this helped us because both programs are probably maybe better than they were projected to be. So in the long run, this year's series could be, again, one of those series that really does matter when it all shakes out at the end.
Yeah, just to clarify, so in 2011, Clemson was supposed to come. I don't even know if were they supposed to come to Columbia or they were supposed to come to Columbia. And Connecticut beat them up there.
Yeah,
Connecticut.
that was George Springer was the center fielder on that team, and and they had their ace was
too, didn't they? Yeah,
the ace.
Yeah.
I think
and Carolina beat them by just. So then in
two first rounders
in the regional in 2012, which was the year 3 deal. Carolina, I believe, they beat. It was Carolina, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, and Gamecocks won a 12-inning game on Saturday, and then in the decisive regional game on Sunday, they won 4-3. And those were very exciting games as well. I think Matt Price struck them down at the end. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So that's yet another postseason during the Tanner era where they played Clemson and didn't lose. They just didn't lose a game. Ray Tanner. One of the reasons he's beloved is not only, his national championships and things like that, but he when all was said and done, he pretty much owned Clemson, and I think a lot of Gamecock fans appreciate that about him.
I got to get to Craig's comment here. He says Nick beat Clemson twice. For those that are listening, Nick is Craig Godwin's cousin. And Nick Godwin is my roommate, one of my roommates at Carolina. And JC, you'll laugh at this because you'll remember the website and you'll really laugh. But I remember when Gotti beat him the first time in 2008. It was a midweek game. We beat him, and then I want to say that was in Clemson. And then the next time he beat him was at the Sarge, and that night Gotti got home. Was that 2008? Yeah, it was 2008. He got home, and we were on this old website called Cocky Talk, and we went to the message boards, and it was the coolest thing ever. There were old men on there. Nick Godwin can marry my daughter. God bless Nick Godwin. How do we send this guy a check? I mean, like going on and on and on. And I mean, and Gotti's very humble. He doesn't like a lot of that. So we got drunk and kept reading all the comments throughout the night, and it was funny stuff. But I told Gotti that night, I said, "Look, if you want to get married, all these dudes are offering up their daughters, which is strange because I'll never do that." There's just been some great moments in this series up there, down here, and in Omaha, and we had Wingo. If you missed it, tell the battering story for us on Monday, and you should go back and listen to that if you have. It's good. It's really good.
And I think it's awesome that Scott Wingo's back with the program too, because there's a guy that knows definitely the Clemson rivalry, given that his dad played at Clemson, was such a great player at Clemson. He comes to Carolina and breakthrough years for national championships. I mean, that's when that happened. I'd never thought I'd live to see the Gamecocks win a national championship in a sport I cared about. And we do care about baseball. I mean, that's how I knew who Mike Morgan was, because when I was back in 2001, when he was calling the Stanford Super Regional, and those games weren't on TV, so all you had was Mike, and then later I'm working in Columbia and he calls me up and I'm like kind of starstruck by old Morg, because I was like, I sat in my car and was delivering food for Sammy's Deli, trying to make a buck, listening to the Morg call game 3 of that Super Regional out there. And it's pouring down rain and I got a gyro and a chicken tender basket. And I'm like, I can get cold with the rain. I listened to the last few hours. Gamecocks lost that one by 1 run too, by the way, but out in Palo Alto. But yeah, that's, it's going to be a great weekend. I've got a lot of honeydew stuff to do this weekend, and the kids want to go see the new Batman movie. So, which I
better do it at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, like I am.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not
Kid's
going to
birthday. Yeah, how early can we do it? 6
I'm not going to sit here and pound a beer per inning like I normally would, but I'm certainly looking forward to it.
All right, JC, we're probably getting short on time with you here, but I do want to squeeze some football stuff in. Spencer Rattler is now at the podium speaking with some of our buddies in Columbia, and so anything noteworthy we'll pass along. But do want to dabble into football because Spring practice is right around the corner, as we will know. And ESPN, of course, it is March, so they got to get the football stuff out there. The way too early questions about the top 25. And I think they actually got it right for South Carolina. Hey, can this offense get better? My question is not about the offense. We've got like 5 months to talk about the ins and outs of the offense, and let's maybe see it in the spring a little bit before we start beating it to death. But Carolina's in the top 25 right now, according to ESPN, JC, which literally means nothing. But will they be in the top 25 in August when the preseason rankings come out?
No, because there's always some kind of BS they're going to throw in there. Like last year. And look, Kirby Smart won it, so no harm, no foul. But when they got Eric Gilbert, everybody's like, that's going to be the difference. National championship. Eric Gilbert didn't even play.
Yeah.
And he's a tight end. And what makes it worse is they got that freshman tight end from California who was an All-American. Nobody's talking about, oh, you got Brock Bowers. That's the difference. And Brock Bowers actually was the dang difference. So there'll be some BS that happens that the national media will find some team, Billy Napier spent more money, so Florida's number 25 now. South Carolina's just out, and I hope that doesn't happen. Do I think South Carolina is a legit no-brainer top 25 team heading into next season? I would not say that. Do I think they're a fringe top 25 team, though? Absolutely. And I think 25 is perfectly fair, 24, whatever.
Wow.
But would I have them 15th? No, let's wait till at least till week 2 to see what happens. But, I do think there's potential there to have a really fantastic season, but they have to do it. And there are less question marks, but there are some ifs, if that makes sense.
What's most important this spring? I mean, I know that I'm talking about for the program as a whole, JC. I know that it's, people are going to want to talk about play calling and Spencer Rattler and, another wide receiver emerging and stuff like that. But overall, like the program, what is the most important thing for this football team over the next 6 weeks?
Oh, I think it's definitely getting Marcus Satterfield, Spencer Rattler, the offensive line, and the receivers all on the same page.
Okay.
I think that's the one scary thing. And I don't want to back off questioning it just because, Spencer Rattler's coming to play for the Gamecocks. I better shut up and just sit and eat popcorn and hot dogs and just cheer. Because that wouldn't be right. It's still a concern because when you think about what the word was as to why he struggled at Oklahoma, now who knows? Who knows if that was actually why or not? And I don't know that he really struggled. He completed 70% of his passes. Was that, reading defenses and making the mental decisions. He wasn't coming up aces. Let's say that. And if you're going to ask him to step into this offense and do a zillion different things like you did last year, we're not even your grad assistant, but wrote your playbook, was comfortable going out and running all that crap. Your chances of success are going to be slim, no matter who your quarterback is, because you are asking him to do too much. Now, let's think about the bowl game for a minute, though. They didn't ask those guys to do too much there. There wasn't a whole lot of like checks and cadences and stuff. It looked more like a college offense, and DeCarry Joyner, who hadn't practiced there a whole lot, went out and executed just fine. So I think there's been maybe some lessons learned. And I wrote the other day that, the good part, and I said this last offseason too, there's two good things about Marcus Satterfield and what he's trying to do on offense. Number one, he loves throwing the ball vertically. He loves to throw it vertically more than Steve Spurrier, and that's saying a lot. And they just didn't have the ability to do that last year. So you got some guys, right? Rattler, Wells, Van, got some Bell options, right? So that's one. And then number two, when you talk about personnel and these modern NFL offenses, and maybe it's because we just watched the best playoffs in my lifetime. They use a lot of versatile players. Deebo Samuel, who we all know, and then you think about some of the other guys, the 49ers and Rams and Bengals tend to use in different roles, and you kind of look around college ball, and one of the best examples I can think of is 2 years ago at Florida, with Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and Kyle Trask, and Brian Johnson helping him dial up the ball plays. Dan Mullen had the best passing game in the country. Even Georgia, who I mentioned earlier, Todd Monken this year did a masterful job of getting guys like Bowers in position as a tight end to make those types of plays, or using his three backs. Cook and McIntosh and White all had different skill sets, right? Kind of like the backfield of South Carolina. And they were as good as anybody at getting those guys in a rotation that made sense, allowed them to be in rhythm, but yet, the play calling and the setup and things like that played to their strengths. So those are the encouraging things about what they're trying to do on offense. It's just, the concerns I had last year about it being confusing and too much were shared. and those have to remain simply because of, you ask yourself what happened with Rattler at Oklahoma. And if you believe the talk, then that doesn't sound like a great marriage. And I think it's going to be up to Marcus Satterfield, not Spencer Rattler, to Marcus Satterfield, to make sure that he makes it work with what is just talent-wise and arm talent-wise and, just from an ability standpoint, a guy that can not only have a good season at Carolina, but a great one, and gives them something they have not had at the quarterback position completely like this in a long, long time.
I mean, have they ever? Has Carolina ever had a quarterback of this talent? Todd Ellis, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I mean, as far as talent out of high school, he's definitely the highest rated one since Ellis, who was number one in the country back in the 85, class of 85. He had a tremendous mullet too. It was outstanding. Whoa, kick your oh God, to the 41 years old. Be quiet, Todd. No, this guy's the highest rated guy since then. It's funny because he wears number 7, and he's from Arizona, the Phoenix area, and the last number 7 to wear the Gamecocks, for the Gamecocks at quarterback from the state of Arizona was Mike Hold, who's from Tempe, Arizona, in the Phoenix area. So we all remember what Mike Hold did for this program back in 1984. But no, Rattler, and what I like about him when you just break him down is, number one, the arm talent is off the chain. I mean, this guy, Jake Bentley had a good arm. I thought Steven Garcia had a good arm. Connor Shaw had a good arm. Dylan Thompson. I mean, there's been players come here through Steve Tanny. Oh, good arms. Anthony Wright, great arm. But this guy, just with how he can place it down the field, way down the field, and his quick release and his quickness with getting the ball out is next level. And so I like that. I think he can help with the RPO game if they want to go with some RPOs, because he does have a quick release, make some quick decisions, kind of like Bryce Young at Alabama. He's not what I would call a Lamar Jackson style runner, but he's going to be able to run. He's a little bit more fleet of foot than Zeb Nolan, right? Yeah. And no, and he can, make yardage with his feet when they need him to. I don't know that Oklahoma really asked him to a whole lot, and so the zone read comes out. I mean, you run inside zone and your quarterback's no threat to run it, you can do that. But when you tack the tag for the read on it, and then they're trying to go, what's inside zone? All right. Oh, but be careful, because Rattler may just go around the edge, and you're like, hey, that makes your offense a little tougher to defend.
JC, which I agree with you. I would add to all that, by the way, I think the most important thing, stay healthy. Just come out of spring practice and don't have one of these superstars, or at least you hope is going to be a superstar, injured, because that deflates the air in the tire real quick. And then you got to call Freeway Flyers USA, and we'll see how soon they can get you back on the road. I saw Craig's comment, and he's kind of leaning towards where I was going, and he's talking about when Pat was on with us a couple of weeks ago, and Pat was talking specifics. Darren, I can't remember the exact question, but I think it was something along the lines of, what have you learned about your guys, and what are they learning, and things like that. And
yeah, because the analysts, he had said the analyst spent a couple of weeks just diving into self-evaluation. So the question was, without going too deep, what'd you learn? What'd you learn about yourself?
And he gave a bunch of specific examples. Craig noted one right there. offensively, they were shifting a bunch last year. And, well, when you do that, a lot of times, as you know, JC, well, the defense is going to move around a little bit. And then everybody was going, oh, now, wait a second, coach. You didn't say that they could shift. So who the hell do I pick up now? And they didn't know. Not going to get too in the weeds with X's and O's. But, I mean, I think it's fair to say, JC, and I'm not trying to say this to stir up any nonsense. I don't mean it that way at all. But there is still a large portion of people, not just the fan base, but media and anybody else who watches Carolina football or follows it, that is very questionable on the offense. And it's because the guy that ran the offense last year is returning to do it again. So, but I'm asking this in a different way. Like, isn't there something to be said about continuity, regardless of how maybe difficult things have been? I mean, your offensive coordinator is learning as well as the players, and they're all still together on this thing. So isn't there a positive in there with Marcus Satterfield returning to the helm?
Yeah.
Hey, look, this is year 2 in this system. They should all be better, regardless of whether the system's any good or not. It doesn't matter. They should all be better in the fact that they actually know the damn thing.
Yeah. And it could be that he's sort of, coming back to college football after a year in the pros, bit off more than he could chew and all that in terms of trying to do too much. And, you talk to anybody about him, and he's a ball coach. I mean, he loves ball. I mean, the guy probably watches more film than any other coach in the country, coming up with ideas. And he is, look, I never minded the creativeness. I didn't like it inside the 2 at Tennessee. You got to have better feel for that then. But, the play designs were creative at times and stuff like that. It's just, there was a lot going on, right? And so, yeah, let's say the people that said, and hopefully, I hope that the people that believe that it was all just a quarterback thing and a new system thing end up being right. Not that it was all, but maybe it's a deal where Satterfield's adapted to. Then the guts of the system, you return the guy, you return everybody, and they're in their second year. I'd still go back and argue that for a college offense, it should never take a year to get any kind of system down unless you hire Steve Spurrier or Mike Leach, a guy that, runs an offense. I don't think you hire Marcus Satterfield to have him install something that takes 2 years to run. But, maybe that's the case. Maybe there was a little too much given, especially early last year, the quarterback situation. And they go into this year and everybody knows everything. And it works a little bit better. And so let's say they're right. I hope they are. Then that's good news for the Gamecocks. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I have no reason to believe that things were not overly complicated last year. But I also have no reason to believe that having players back in a system for a second straight year, everything happens. When you rep something over and over, you eventually get it. I also want to point this out too, especially about the offensive line. I mean, those guys were going on like their what was it, 4th blocking scheme and their 3rd blocking scheme in 3 years. So because they went from McClendon's offense in 2019 to Bobo's in 2020 to Satterfield's. Yeah, so that's 3 in 3 years. The running backs have had 4 coaches in 4 years prior to Hardesty last year. The receivers were on their 3rd coach in 3 years. I mean, so maybe there's some individual coaching things too, where it's just maybe that does get confusing when you've had a bunch. You've had to continuously learn a new system every offseason. And, you compare that to, and Bobo's system's somewhat similar to Sat's, but not really. And then McClendon's was a departure from that. So maybe it did get them confused, and maybe I didn't think about that because I don't really have a lot of tolerance for stuff like that, especially with veteran. You got veteran players, you need to, either strip it down or make sure they get it because it's going to be embarrassing if you don't. So, but yeah, maybe I didn't take that into account as much. Not necessarily the the turnover to this staff, but the turnover at a lot of different spots on offense for the Gamecocks, even with the previous staff with Mike Bobo coming in.
JC, we'll see. Obviously, we got a ways to go before we get to the regular season. Luke, I see your question. What day was that show? Make sure Luke, download the app. If you've downloaded the app, you can go into previous shows, and you can. There's a description of each one, and you can click on it. That's what's so great about our app, guys. Not to pick on you, Luke, I'm not. But if you've downloaded the JB and Goldwater app, it's always right there in your phone. You can go back and check it out. I will tell you, I've already done the work for you. It was on February the 8th. So, but make sure you download the app, and you can find anything you've missed here on our program.
Yeah. And I'll send you a cameo if you download the app.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
and
right.
send me $15.
I don't think
we tie this all together here.
Darren, I don't think enough people realize what we have actually built here in this app.
No,
there's literally nothing like this. No radio station you listen to has it. No TV station you watch has it. Nobody has this. We are the only ones that have it. So make sure you download the JB and Goldwater app. It's free. I don't know how else to explain this. All right, man. We'll keep our eyes on everything, JC. I know this week, as always, is a busy week for the Big Spur. I'm sure you're following along the combine closely. Kevin Harris, Zaquandre White, and JJ Enagbari, and we'll see what their projections look like here before long for the NFL draft, and certainly baseball and hoops. A lot to cover right now. And the Big Spur has got you covered.
Yeah, had several of the newcomers, like you mentioned, Lavoisier Carroll, Christian Beal Smith, the transfer from Wake, declined to speak with the media today. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Do you know why that was?
Some guys just aren't. I'd imagine at Wake Forest there was not
this.
Coverage,
No offense to the Wake people.
We've got a pretty good Wake Forest website on 24/7 Sports, and that guy does a great job, man. He loves his Deacons, and then you probably just got like one guy from all the newspapers that show up once a week. Hey guys, and. Like there's no spread, it's just kind of like, hey, I got some donuts for you today. And just going out there and talk to whoever, Yeah. But, some guys may not be comfortable getting up on the, up in front, kind of like they do it at South Carolina. So maybe that's the deal here.
Well, Rattler's up there now. He was on a TV show, and he had a good answer to that. He was asked about it.
He does not mind talking. He does not mind spotlight.
No. Well, he's been in the spotlight for so long, I mean, and he's like, guys, y'all forget that was a reality TV show. And I was 16 years old. I mean, who cares? There's some people out there hung up on what he said and did when he was 16, 17 on a reality high school TV show.
Those are like the artificial people I was talking about earlier. Like, number one, the fact you even cared and remembered what was on that thing shows that you're not necessarily. I mean, you're not reading any sort of Tolstoy or anything right now. You're entertainment. So I mean, you're kind of like the Golden Corral of TV. By even. I mean, you can watch it because mindless brain candy is fun to watch sometimes. So is reality TV. But the very fact you remembered and cared and got an impression. Come on, man. And look, Rattler was a kid that had a lot of hype and a lot of hype. And I'm sure there's some things that happened that he's probably not proud of. And one thing a very good source at South Carolina told me when they took him was, we really talked to him very, very much in depth about all of that. And he said, let's just say he's eating a big old spoon of humble pie. And that's good because I think some of these, I mean, if you're Spencer Rattler, you play ball in Phoenix. That's not exactly the Dallas Metroplex or South Florida or name your football hotbed, even the state of South Carolina. I mean, some nights you're playing teams where you can just go up and play. It's 7-on-7 basically. He's probably not getting hit a whole lot and, throwing the ball around the yard and he's Spencer Rattler and then he's, Mr. 5-star. Then he goes to Oklahoma and, they're good. Then he takes over the reins during the COVID year when nobody's playing defense. He's just throwing it all over the place. Ooh, shoot, and so no adversity. I don't even remember him getting sacked in Oklahoma very often. And so then all of a sudden this year happens and teams start playing defense again, and you're not scoring 50 points a game, and that can get to you. Like if you're a football player, if you're used to that kind, where if you don't score 50 points is a disappointment, that can affect you. Like when the game's 13-10, because you start pressing because wait a minute, this should be 50 points. I shouldn't have had to face this adversity, and it's a false thing. So facing adversity, I think, with quarterbacks is a huge part of it. Because boy, you get up there on Sundays, you're going to face some adversity. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was essentially a lot like bad Jake Bentley his first year at LSU, right? When he came in. I remember watching a game that he actually led them back to beat Auburn out of Auburn. But I looked at the stats. He was like 13 for 32. I mean, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Well, look at what happened, how he fought through that year. And then the next year, here we go. Because I'm used to this adversity. Here's how we avoid it. Here's how we bounce back. You'd watch that LSU team in games. Maybe he'd throw a pick. Maybe he'd get sacked. Maybe they'd give up a touchdown. And boy, it was just laser focused right there. So I think that adversity will probably help. Was probably going to be good for Spencer Rattler as it relates to his career at South Carolina moving forward.
I agree. And I think that he is. I think Spencer is. He didn't just transfer. Sometimes you transfer and you got to kind of reestablish yourself. I mean, he is established here. Coach Beamer's his head coach. I mean, he knows exactly who he is. Darren, when did we have Shane on? Was that last week or the week before?
A week or two ago, yeah.
We didn't get too much in the weeds with him, with Rattler, because everybody talks about him. But, I mean, even, he made mention on our program, just the comfort level that is there. Like, he's not having to learn this guy, and he's not having to learn this guy. They know each other. So that's such a huge bonus. And being able, I think where it helps you the most, JC, is communication. It's not really about ability and things of that nature. It's about Shane understands Spencer, and Spencer understands Shane, and Shane understands his football team that Spencer's walking into, and they're going to be able to kind of work through how you communicate with these guys, and how you're the big hot shot coming in. There is a factor, and you got to sometimes kind of get through that curtain. And according to Coach Beamer, when we talked to him, he's doing it. So keep our eyes on it. Yeah,
it's very. If you're a Gamecock, after it's very exciting, and I think that Spencer Rattler being Spencer Rattler, and look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's the SEC. It's not the Big 12. So if people out there are like, well, he didn't throw for 400 yards like he did at Oklahoma, he must suck. It's different. Okay. It's different. Okay. I mean, it's a different league. There's different defenses. Come on, man.
They play defense in this league. That's the difference.
They play defense. But if he can get out there and have a good year, make plays, throw for some yards, have the Gamecocks have a good passing game, that's just going to help so much. Because what that does, it gives Luke Doty a year. I kind of think they should put DeCarron Joyner at quarterback and train him for a year and see if he can't win the job in 2023. Call me crazy, but we can discuss that this offseason. It gives all the young quarterbacks time, and it calms down what's been sort of an ocean of turmoil at that position since Jake Bentley hurt his foot in 2019 against North Carolina. And then they had to go with Helinski, and then Helinski puts the guys in the tank, and then it's Doty, and it's Colin Hill, and this year it's three different guys, and they're bringing a graduate assistant off, and I mean the position really has been in a lot of turmoil. Luke Doty's career in particular, he's been through a lot to be going into his third season, but this calms everything down. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. Now there'll be some quarterbacks that leave and don't stay and all that. That's the nature of the spot. But right now, the best thing that could happen is for Spencer Rattler and Marcus Satterfield to be like that movie Any Given Sunday with Jamie Foxx and Al Pacino.
That's true. You do come into the year pretty much knowing who your quarterback is, which has been rare around here for a while. So All right, bud. On that note, we'll let you run, but we hope you certainly have a wonderful week. Thanks for your extended time today, and we'll probably do it again next week.
Yeah, I know I had to bolt because of carpool last week early, so I want to give you guys the full Monty.
Well, the full Monty is still 1:30. I mean, you've long exceeded that. So
So all right. Well, hey guys, you have a good one. JB in particular, enjoy this weekend. I know it means a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Not only your and that includes your children's birthday. Kind of stepped in that. It's children's birthday, and of course the little baseball series. Right?
Yeah. Gamecocks, Tigers. Yeah. Oh, and my kid's birthday.
You just got to get through the personal nonsense. Nonsense. Get rid of that and get to what you need.
It's like I know it means a lot, but I'm like, his kid's birthday party this weekend.
Damn, kids are 3 again. I mean, wait, they're 3. Oh, whatever. Yeah. All right. Thanks, man. See you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good
one. Later, JC. With the Big Spur. It is Ash Wednesday. All who celebrate Ash Wednesday, happy Ash Wednesday. It's also National Old Stuff Day. So if you're going through old stuff, hopefully you'll find something cool.
I got lots of old stuff. I got way too much old stuff.
We've been doing a lot of that ourselves, just starting to flush it out. Tonight on the basketball agenda, I should say, I guess I'll call it, Darren. There's some interesting games out there that you would probably deem bubble games. I think in the ACC in particular, Miami's on the road at Boston College, so be careful there. If you lose that game for Miami, that could bump you. NC State is at Wake Forest, and I think Wake Forest should take care of business, but certainly don't want to be upset by those guys. I'm really intrigued by UConn and Creighton. I do think, Darren, both of them are in, right? UConn's in.
UConn's absolutely in. Creighton is playing well. Creighton has put themselves into the conversation. This is a massive, massive game for Creighton. They are playing well. Big game for Wyoming as well. Wyoming got knocked off by San Diego State on their home floor just a couple of days ago, and now have UNLV. That could go either way, but that's one to pay attention to for Wyoming's NCAA hopes.
All right. What about Xavier? They're 17-11. I think they got a top 40 or so in the net rankings. They got a bunch of quad 1 wins, but they've struggled lately. They're at St. John's tonight.
Yeah, I'm surprised how much they have struggled lately. And St. John's is the popular team, the popular side tonight. I think that's a 1.5 or 2 point line right now. St. John's is better than a lot of people realize in a crowded Big East.
Notre Dame is at Florida State, 21-8. As of now, folks pretty much have Notre Dame in. They only have 2 quad 1 wins on the season, though, which is not really that good. They need more than those. So if they lose tonight against Florida State, what happens?
They're an interesting team, right? Because they have gotten hot, and they are the second best team in the ACC, and they've been playing that way for a while. But yes, the numbers for them don't match up where they are projected and where they are in the net don't match up because they don't have great wins. A loss hurts them far more than a win helps them. Far more.
And finally, I would say the bubble game of the day is Rutgers at Indiana. Whoever wins this probably has a leg up.
Indiana can't lose. Absolutely cannot lose. Since Rutgers got hot when they were knocking people off at home, they've now lost a couple games in a row and haven't played nearly as well. I'm not sure. I think Harper's healthy, but that was kind of the start of the slide back to reality for Rutgers. But yeah, like you said, this is a must win for both of these teams.
The ACC women's tournament is underway. Clemson is up at halftime on Syracuse right now, 38-32. If they win the game, they've got 5th seeded Virginia Tech tomorrow. Elsewhere across the state of South, or teams in the state of South Carolina, the SoCon tournament won't start until Friday on the men's side. The women's side will start tomorrow. The Sun Belt Conference begins tomorrow as well. Coastal Carolina will play tomorrow night against Georgia Southern. And the Big South is on the floor today. Charleston Southern coming up right now in 1 minute in a 12-5 matchup against 5th-seeded UNC Asheville. PC tonight against Campbell at 8 o'clock. So we'll give you some recaps on those games tomorrow. And remember, the SEC women's tournament has begun today, but nothing involving South Carolina will take place until tomorrow. Missouri and Arkansas at noon. The winner of that gets the game Friday at noon. Those are Central Time, so 1 o'clock our time. And there you go. That's your hoop slate. Clemson, Georgia Tech, of course, tonight at 7 o'clock as well on the men's side of things. Tigers, they've won a couple games. Hope to win another one. We'll see. Make sure you've downloaded the app. Thanks to JC Shurburtt. Mixed in a lot today. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday afternoon. I know I will. My little girls are 3 today. I can't wait to go celebrate with them. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon. Thanks to Darren as always.
Thank you.
See you.